गंधारविक गिरिधारी शिष्य राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जाय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरन मोहन जू की जाय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत साई महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्याल्प विष्ट महाभागवत शिल गोक्षरस बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नित्याल्प विश्व शिल सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्याल्प विष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम शिल जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानु गौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी शिकोर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री मुन देवी गंग देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। जय श्री भक्ति तत्व विवेक की जय। श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। To the Mangalacharan. अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। श्रीसिद्धान्त सरस्वती विदितो गौरीय कुर्वन्वये भातो भानुरिव प्रभात गगने योगोरसंकीर्तनाय मायावारतमिङ्गिलोदरगतान् उद्धृत्य जीवनिमान् कृष्णप्रेमसुधाब्धिगाहन सुखं प्रादात् प्रभुं तं भजे। वन्दे भक्तिविनोदं श्रीगौरशक्तिस्वरूपकम् भक्तिशास्त्रज्ञसम्राजां राधारससुधानिधिम्। नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगवराय ते श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। वृषभानुसुतान्वितवामतनुं यमुनातटनागरनन्दसुतं मुरलीकलगीत विनोरपरं भज गोद्रुमकाननकुञ्जविदुं स्मर गौरगदाधर केलिकलं भव गौरगदाधर पक्षचर शृणु गौरगदाधर Charukatang Bhajagodrumakanana Kunjavidum Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Twang Nayamang Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Kshiptashtakamaditaranga Madhye Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Chatamai Mataji, Nitai Mukeshji, Archana Mataji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Ashray Tattva Prabhu, and on YouTube and Facebook, there are 7 people. Only one person wrote a comment though, Prajumna Prabhu, Pranams, and Mantramurti Mataji. I don't know who else is there, so I can only guess. But I'm guessing my brother is there, Krishna Murari, and Seshwari Mataji, Indira Mataji, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, Vangshiwala Prabhu, and everybody else. I don't know. You write a comment, I'll see your name. So, but yeah, pranams to all of you. And also pranams to all the devotees watching in the future. So we are continuing our reading of Bhakti-tattva-viveka. Yesterday the past 2 days, we read about the 2 first symptoms of bhakti, or the first 2 natural attributes of bhakti that appear. The first is kleshagni. Bhakti removes all klesh, all types of misery, and shubhadha, and it bestows all auspiciousness. Yeah, yesterday we read from Madhurya Kadambini. And actually, I think I have a Madhurya Kadambini chart. That might be nice. Let's see. MK chart. Madhurya Kadambini chart. Huh. Anyhow, that would have been nice to look at. I just forgot about it. I just thought of it now. Do I have the chart in this book? Let's check really quick. No, I don't. Anyhow. Actually, let me just look online really quick. Because that might be nice for doing a review. Madhurya Kadambini chart. Here. Okay, so if you just type in Madhurya Kadambini chart in Google, you'll find this. Let's see if it's high enough resolution though to even see. Looks like it's high resolution. Okay, perfect. This will be helpful for, yeah, we'll just look at this for the summary for today. Okay, there. So here is the first 2 leaves are Kleshagni and Shubhada. And the top part of the leaf is, the soft side of the leaf is Raganuga Bhakti, the path of ardent attachment. And the bottom of the leaf, the more rough side of the leaf, is Vaidhi Bhakti, the path of regulated devotion. So Kleshagni is there, it's divided either as the 5 types of misery or the 4 types of sin. So the 5 types of misery is avidya, ignorance, asmita, false ego, rag, attachment, dvesh, hatred, and abhinivesh, absorption in worldly objects. The four types of sin is prarabdha, fructified sin, aprarabdha, unfructified sin, what's in store for you for that's waiting for you in your next lifetimes, all the things that you're gonna have to. Kuttapap, the sins of seed, and wait, Kuttapap is the seeds of sin, and then the desire seed of sin. Huh. That's an interesting translation. I was always thinking of Kutta as even before the seeds come, it's all the things that you do that start to um, produce the seeds. So it's like even a level deeper than that, than the seeds. Anyways, and then there's Bijpap, the desire seed of sin. And then, so that was the first leaf. Bhakti destroys all misery. Then the second leaf is Shubhada, which means bhakti bestows all auspiciousness. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains that first it means this shubhada, this shubha, this auspiciousness means a distaste for objects that are unrelated to Bhagavan and a thirst for that which is related to Bhagavan. Distaste for objects that are unrelated and a thirst for that which is related to Bhagavan. As well as other types of auspiciousness like kindness, mercy, forgiveness, truthfulness, simplicity, equality, patience, gravity, honoring others, not expecting respect, all good fortune, and all other types of auspiciousness. So these are and they both start to grow at the same time. And it just grows more and more and more. So there'll be more of the klesh is destroyed. It's a gradual thing. So first a little bit of klesh will be destroyed, then more, and then more, and then more. And also auspiciousness will arise, more auspiciousness and more auspiciousness. And it just continues growing the more we engage in sadhan. And so, and then, yeah, then there's the awakening of faith. These two things happen. And all throughout, sadhu sangha is what helps, like what makes all this happen. We have to put in our own endeavor into engaging in this sadhan, but in sadhu sangha. And then eventually we'll come up through all the stages of bhajana kriya. And there's anishtata bhajana kriya. This is utsahamai, ghanatarala, vyudavikalpa, vishaya sangara, niyamakshama, tarangarangini. Those are all the stages of Anishtata Bhajana Kriya. And then Anarthana Vritti is the clearing of obstacles to to bhakti. As we're engaging in this Bhajana Kriya, then all obstacles born of um, sinful acts, dushkritota anarthas, all the obstacles born of past pious acts, sukritota anarthas, and obstacles born of imperfectly performed bhakti, bhaktyuta anarthas, and obstacles born of past offenses, aparodota, anartha. All of these will gradually be destroyed. And then the last five stages before nishta, loy, drowsiness, vikshepa, distraction, apratipatti, incompetence, kashaya, contaminated consciousness, rasaswad, taste for mundane pleasure. And finally, we come to nishta, unshakable resolve. And that's divided into two. Tad anukul vastu vartini. Those things, resting in that which is favorable to bhakti. Those are those, kindness, mercy, forgiveness, truthfulness. It's not bhakti directly, but it's favorable to bhakti, these things. And then shakshad bhakti vartini. These are resting directly in bhakti herself. So all those activities performed by the body, performed by speech, and performed within the minds. Kayaki, vachiki, and manasiki. Then eventually we come to the stage of ruchi, which is taste for bhajan. First there's taste dependent on external excellence, vastu vaishishta apekshani, and then taste not dependent on external excellence, Vastu Vaishishta Anapekshani. So, Krishna, first we'll notice how, wow, how beautifully Thakurji is dressed and all the flowers and ornaments. And then after that, it comes to even higher stage where this taste is not dependent on any external excellence. It doesn't matter what Krishna is wearing or what's happening. Then we come to the stage of asakti, which is attachment to Krishna, the object of bhajan. Because before there's more attachment for performing bhajan, for all the process of bhajan, but now in asakti, the attachment is directly for Krishna himself, object of bhajan. And then we come to the stage of bhav, transcendental emotion. And so at the stage of bhav, these are the next two symptoms that manifests. So durlabha, bhav bhakti is most rarely obtained, and moksha laghuta krit. Bhav bhakti makes even liberation seem trifling. So this is what we're reading about today, these two. So durlabha and moksha laghuta krit. And then after that comes Sandarananda Visheshatama. Prem Bhakti is imbued with a condensed superlative pleasure. And finally, Krishna Karshini. Prem Bhakti is capable of attracting Sri Krishna. We'll be reading about these four today. And then we'll end the chapter. This is at the stage of Prem. All right. So, where is it in the book? So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur begins this chapter with this Mangalacharan verse. Shuddha Bhakti Svabhavasya Prabhavan Yat Padashayat Sadaiva Labate Jivas Tang Chaitanyam Ahang Bhaje. I worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By taking shelter of his feet, the living entity forever obtains the potency issuing from the very nature of unalloyed devotion. One second, let me just put this back here so I can see the chat. Oh, and Haribo Rukmini Didi. Um, I see you wrote a couple question marks. What's the question marks over? If you wrote a comment before that, I didn't see it. Yeah, I just see the question marks. And Haribo Vidyalala Didi. Okay. So Shuddha Bhakti manifests along with 6 symptoms. Kleshagni, it brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. 2. Shubhada, it brings all auspiciousness. 3. Moksha Laghuta Krit, liberation becomes insignificant before it. 4. Sudurlabha, it is rarely achieved. And then 5. Sandarananda Visheshatma, it grants intense transcendental pleasure. And 6. Krishna Karshini, it is the only means to attract Sri Krishna. It's interesting, it has this in a little bit of a different order than we saw in Madhurya Kadambini. It has Sudurlabha, Moksha Laghuta Krit first and then Sudurlabha. That's how I remember it as well. I wonder if that's a mistake. Um, but I'm just checking how it is in Madhurya Kadambini. Yeah, Madhurya Kadambini as Sudurlabha first and then Moksha Laghuta Krit. Interesting. Anyways, okay. So, in the stages of sadhan bhakti, only the first 2 symptoms appear. In the stage of bhav, the first 4 symptoms appear. And in the stage of prem, all 6 symptoms appear. These 6 symptoms will now be systematically discussed. So I'm going to skip now over to Moksha Laghuta Krit. Let's find that. Did I skip it? I did skip it. Sorry, guys. Uh, there it is. Okay, so moksha lakutakrit. By nature, bhakti renders the conception of liberation, mukti, insignificant. It is said in the Narad Pancharatra and also in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1134. Hari Bhakti Mahadevya Sarva Muktyadi Siddhaya Bhuktayas Charbhutastasyash Chetikavar Anuvrata. The various kinds of perfection headed by mukti and the entirety of mundane pleasures follow behind the goddess of Hari Bhakti, Bhakti Devi, as her maidservants. All different types of perfection headed by mukti and all mundane pleasures, the entirety of mundane pleasures, they all follow behind the goddess of Hari Bhakti, Bhakti Devi, as her maidservants. Srila Rupa Goswami has also said this very beautifully in the verse just before that, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, verse 33. He says, Manag eva prarudayam hridaye bhagavad rato purusharthas tu chatvaras trinayante samantata. Only when one understands the fourfold achievements of economic development, religiosity, sense gratification, and liberation to be very insignificant, only then can it be accepted that unalloyed devotion is appearing within him. Okay, that's a nice verse, huh? So, how do you know when unalloyed devotion is starting to appear within? When you understand that economic development, religiosity, sense gratification, and liberation are extremely insignificant. 4. Attainment of Hari Bhakti. Okay, so now that was Moksha Laghutakrit. Now the next one, Sadurlabha. This is number 4. Attainment of Hari Bhakti is extremely rare. Sudurlabha. Srila Rupa Goswami writes about the extreme rarity of bhakti in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is the next verse, 35. Sadhano ghair anasangair alabhya suchiradapi harina chashva harina chashvadeyat yeti dvidha sa syat sudurlabha. There are two reasons for Hari Bhakti being so rare. First, it cannot be achieved in spite of engaging in many varieties of sadhana for a long period of time, as long as one is bereft of firm faith and unwavering persistence. Secondly, Sri Hari does not easily grant bhakti unto him, unto Sri Hari, even though one may be engaged in asanga yukta sadhan, that means spiritual practice endowed with unflinching attachment. The word asanga implies expertise in bhajan. Without expertise in bhajan, no spiritual practice can grant Hari Bhakti. By executing sadhan with expertise in bhajan for a long period of time, and after offenses to both the holy name and Vaishnavas have been dispelled, then by the mercy of the Lord, unalloyed devotion, which establishes one in knowledge of his constitutional identity, arises in the heart. Now, this is a famous verse. I remember Vangsi Bodhan Prabhu, who's now Bodhain Maharaj, he had us all memorize this verse in one of his classes. This is the verse 36 from the beginning of Bhakti Rasamrita. So the next verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Jnanata sulabha muktir bhuktir yagyadi punyata seyam sadhana sahasrair hari bhakti sadurlabha. By the cultivation of impersonal knowledge, one can easily obtain liberation, mukti. And by performance of sacrifices and other pious activities, one can easily obtain sense gratification, mukti. But despite performing innumerable sadhans, one cannot achieve Hari Bhakti so easily. Bhagavan does not easily grant bhakti unto him, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.6.18 and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.37. So here's the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Rajan patir kururalam bhavatam yadunam Daivam priya kulapati kvacha kinkarova Astveva manga bhajatam bhagavan mukundo Muktim dadhati karhichit smana bhakti yogam. Shukadev Goswami said, My dear King Parikshit, Lord Mukunda himself was the protector, spiritual master, worshipful deity, well-wisher, and head of the Pandavas and the Yadu dynasty. Sometimes he even became their obedient servant. It is a matter of great fortune, because Bhagavan easily grants liberation to those engaged in bhajan unto him. But he doesn't easily award prem for him, which is far superior to liberation. In his commentary to this verse, Srila Jiva Goswami comments, Tasmad asangenapi krite sadhana bhute shakshar bhakti yoge sati yavat phalabhute bhakti yoge kada saktir najayate tavan na tadhatityartha. Is that word? No, I don't see that word in this verse. Okay. Just looking for the word asanga. So Srila Jiva Goswami says, those who engage in bhajana unto the Supreme Lord by executing the ninefold limbs of bhakti are not granted unalloyed devotion by Bhagavan. They are not granted that by Bhagavan, unalloyed devotion, until they develop strong attachment for activity executed on the platform of ecstatic emotion, bhav, which is the fruit of perception of one's eternal identity. Until that time comes, one's devotion is simply chaya bhakti abhas. Okay, so um, until we attain the fruit of having some perception of our eternal identity. What is the fruit of having perception of our eternal identity? It is having strong attachment for activity executed on the platform of bhav, of ecstatic emotion, bhav. So yeah, really until we attain the stage of bhav and we have some perception of our eternal identity, then everything that we do in bhakti is chaya bhakti abhas. Wow. I mean, it's a gradual thing though, right? Like it becomes less of a shadow over time. Um, and then finally, once we get to the stage of bhav, then it's bhakti what we're doing. But until then, it's just different stages of chaya bhakti. All right. So that was. Do you want to see in Madhuri Kadambini how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains these two, Moksha Laghuta Krit and Sandarananda Visheshatma? Okay. I haven't read this yet myself, but yeah, I'll make it big so you can see. So thereafter, when a sakti becomes completely mature, it is known as a rati. Another name for rati is bhav. This bhav is the budding stage of the three Swarup Shaktis, eternality, sat, cognizance, chit, and bliss, ananda. So now bhav is rarely attained and it makes liberation seem trifling. So dolabha and moksha laghutakrit. Furthermore, this bhav is said to be like the fully blossoming flower of the wish-fulfilling vine of bhakti. Indeed, the radiance or the characteristic of this flower is that it is most rarely obtained. It is sudurlabha. And it makes even liberation seem trifling. Moksha laghuta krit. Even an atomic particle of this bhav completely destroys the darkness of ignorance at the root. The flower of bhav emanates a charming fragrance that invites Sri Madhusudan, causing him to manifest directly before the devotee. So then in my Gurudev's commentary, the Piyush Varshini Vritti, he says, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also states that bhav or rati is the blossomed flower of the wish-fulfilling vine of bhakti. We saw that here. Here's the flower of bhav. Actually, this is the flower right here. And then that from that flower manifests the fruit of prem. By one's extensive practice of sadhan, and by the mercy of sadhu, guru, and Sri Hari, one obtains the extremely rare wealth of bhav. Just sadurlabha, extremely rare wealth of bhav. The internal brilliance of this flower is moksha laguta krit, meaning that bhav renders insignificant even the liberation jnanis and yogis attain after great difficulty. Therefore, the two characteristics of bhav bhakti are moksha laguta krit, it renders liberation insignificant, and sadurlabha, it is rarely attained. And then we read these verses already. It's quoting those verses that we just read from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 33 and 34 and 35. Then my Gurudev continues. As long as one does not develop a deep attachment to attaining Prem Bhakti, Sri Hari does not bestow it. Upon attaining just one atomic particle of this Bhav Bhakti, the total darkness of ignorance and nescience in the heart is completely dispelled. The fragrance of this transcendental flower of Bhav reaches the spiritual world, where its nectarous pollen invites Bhagavan Sri Madhusudan to come and taste its honey, thus making him appear before the devotee. In other words, a bumblebee becomes so attracted to the fragrance of a blossoming flower that it becomes intoxicated by it. It approaches the flower and, with great relish, drinks its honey. Similarly, Bhagavan Sri Madhusudan is attracted to the fragrance emanating from the flower of bhav within the heart of the devotee. He personally manifests in the devotee's heart and drinks the honey of that flower, thus becoming intoxicated. Okay, so now let's hear the last two natural attributes of bhakti that manifest. Sandara, that's number 5 is Sandarananda Visheshatma. We're going back to Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur now. By nature, bhakti is very intense transcendental pleasure. Intense transcendental pleasure. That's Sandara Ananda Visheshatma. It has already been mentioned that Bhagavan is Satchid Ananda Swarup. Bhagavan is the complete embodiment of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And that the jiva is Anuchidananda. He is an infinitesimal particle of spiritual bliss who is likened to a single particle of light situated within a ray of the unlimited spiritual sun. Hence, spiritual knowledge, chit, and spiritual bliss, ananda, are also present within the living entity in minute quantity. Okay, that's very clear. Some people say that there isn't any ananda present within the living entity. But no, there is. The word ananda is generally understood to mean mundane pleasure. But whatever pleasure can be derived from all material pleasures combined, whatever pleasure can be derived from all material pleasures combined is extremely negligible when placed before spiritual pleasure. Material pleasure is extremely weak and momentary, whereas Chid Ananda, transcendental pleasure, is extremely intense, Sandra. Bhakti is very intense, transcendental pleasure. And the intrinsic pleasure of the living, sorry, and it is the intrinsic pleasure of the living entity. The happiness derived from impersonal liberation, Brahmananda, is negligible before bhakti. Brahmananda is not the eternal bliss of the living entity. It is the so-called pleasure obtained from the negation of matter and material activities. Srila Rupa Goswami has said in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this is the next verse in the first chapter, 30, verse number 38. Brahmanando bhavedesha chetparardha chetparardha guni krita naiti bhakti sukam bodhe paramanu tulam api. Even if the happiness of liberation experienced by impersonalists is multiplied by 10 million times, the resulting pleasure will not be equal to even a drop of the ocean of pleasure derived from bhakti. Wow, that's a pretty dramatic sentence. The happiness of liberation multiplied by 10 million times is not equal to even a drop from the ocean of pleasure derived from bhakti. The purport is that by simple imagination, we may extend the happiness derived from impersonal liberation to whatever extent. But in reality, it cannot even come near the intrinsic pleasure of the living entity, what to speak of equaling it. The constitutional pleasure of the jiva is inborn, and hence natural. The happiness derived from impersonal liberation is unnatural, due to arising from the living entity's distorted endeavors, and hence it is temporary. Can't believe there are people actually so-called in our line, like in, who claim to be followers of Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, but they don't agree with this point here that he's making here. Completely wild. So it is said in Hari Bhakti Sudodaya and also in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the next verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, verse 39, says, Tvachakshar karanahlada vishuddhabdi stitasya me sukhani koshpadayante brahmanyapi jagadguru. O Bhagavan, by attaining darshan of you, I am now established in the ocean of pure bliss. What to speak of material pleasure? Even the pleasure of impersonal liberation now seems as insignificant as the water in a calf's hoofprint. There are many similar statements found in the scriptures. Okay, so that is Moksha Laghuta Krit. Now we come to the final natural attribute of bhakti that manifests in the stage of prem. This is Shri Krishna Karshini. Actually, do you want to see what it says in Madhuri Kadambini about Sandarananda Visheshatma? Let's look that up. Sandra. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Okay, let's read this. So this is Madhuri Kadambini by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The first two leaves of sadhan bhakti, visible on the wish-fulfilling vine of devotion, on the Bhakti Kalpalata, were described before. Now many leaves named anubhavs, far smoother and softer than the first two, yet like them, composed of shravan, kirtan, and so on, suddenly manifest on this vine, clinging to the flower of bhav. At every moment, these leaves of anubhav expands the great beauty of this vine, causing the flowers of bhav to blossom to their ultimate potential and bear the fruit of prem. The nature of this wish-fulfilling vine of bhakti is so astonishing that when sadhan bhakti, its leaves, its clusters of buds, that's asakti, its flowers, the flowers of bhav, and its fruit, fruit of prem, when they attain maturity, they do not lose their original form, but continue to shine together in newer and newer ways. So all these things, every single, the leaves of these first two leaves, Kleshagni, Shubhada, all these things just continue to grow more and more and more. These flowers of, the buds of Asakti, the flowers of Bhav, all of it never stops. They keep their form and they continue just to expand and grow and become more beautiful and more fragrant and more like that. It's not like you finish one and then you go to the next stage and then you finish that and then you go to the next stage. But everything, every single stage, all of it continues to grow. Like every single, um, Shraddha continues to grow. Even in Prem, like the Shraddha in Prem is much different than the Shraddha in Bhav and then in the Shraddha in Asakti and the Shraddha in, going down like that. It's everything. Yeah, that's how I understood that at least. Now, let's see. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 141. It says, this is in my Gurudev's commentary. He says, the difference between Bhav and Prem is that Bhav softens the heart and Prem softens it absolutely. Bhav contains the pinnacle of ruchi, of taste, but Prem contains an extreme feeling of possessiveness. Condensation of ecstasy, sorry, is the intrinsic quality of prem. A melting heart, snigdhata, and a feeling of possessiveness, mamata, are prem's marginal characteristics. But the intrinsic quality is this condensation of ecstasy, this sandrananda. After Srila Rupa Goswami presents the above-mentioned verse, he quotes as evidence the following verse from Narad Pancharatara. Okay, it goes deep into that. Let's skip that though. And now, the fruit of prem, condensed pleasure, Sandrananda Visheshatma, and the ability to attract Krishna, Krishna Karshini. Okay, so I'm gonna make this. I skipped a part of Madhuri Kadambini. What was the previous part? Okay, let's just read this. Why not? We have time. Thereafter, the tendency of the devotee's heart, which was previously in hundreds and thousands of ways bound by the rope of possessiveness to his body, bodily relations, home, wealth, and so on, is now, as a result of prem, easily released from its worldly attachments. And just as any object that is submerged in a well of nectar becomes saturated with that nectar, these tendencies, though material, are transformed into radiant, condensed spiritual ecstasy, chid ananda, by the power of prem. Thus, with that very same possessiveness, prem binds the inclination of the devotee's heart to the charming sweetness of the names, forms, qualities, and qualities of Sri Bhagavan. This is prem. Prem awakens like a great sun and immediately causes the various star-like goals of human life to vanish. The delectable ras of the fruit of prem is Sandrananda Visheshatma, condensed superlative pleasure. And the supremely nourishing potency of this ras is known as Krishna Karshini. It is capable of attracting Shri Krishna. So the ras of the fruit of prem is Sandrananda Visheshatma, condensed superlative pleasure. And the nourishing potency of this ras is Krishna Karshini. It is capable of attracting Shri Krishna. A devotee beginning to delight in this ras immediately becomes intoxicated by it and is no longer concerned for any obstacle. What else can be said? In this condition, he loses all sense of self, just as a valiant warrior becomes fully absorbed in battle. Or a thief preoccupied with his greed to secure a great treasure loses all discrimination and hesitation. Wow. And then my Gurudev gives a long commentary on this. Maybe we'll read this commentary at the end if there's time. Let's go back to Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. So number 6, this is the final natural attribute that manifests. Krishna Karshani. Bhakti is the only means to attract Krishna. As Srila Rupa Goswami writes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1141, Kritva Harim Prema Bhajam Priya Varga Samanvitam Bhaktir Vashi Karoti Ti Shri Krishna Karshani Mata. Rupa Goswami writes, this is the next verse that comes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He writes, unalloyed devotion overpowers Shri Krishna and all his dearmost associates. Unalloyed devotion overpowers Shri Krishna and all his dearmost associates. It overpowers them with love. This very ability to attract Shri Krishna is actually the inherent nature of Bhakti Devi. The purport of this is that in the stage of sadhan bhakti, as long as unalloyed devotion has not arisen within the heart, a sadhak is performing a semblance of devotion. He's performing bhakti abhas. At this stage, the attainment of shuddha bhakti is very rare. But when unalloyed devotion does appear in the heart, even in the stage of sadhan, a little of the splendor of the limbs of bhajan begin to blossom. At that time, realization of the jiva's eternal identity and realization of the true intrinsic nature of the Lord is kindled by the medium of that splendor. That's the stage of bhav, right? Subsequently, a powerful agitation in the form of deep attachment for bhakti develops within the heart of the devotee. Thus, the appearance of this stage of bhajan causes the pure practice of bhakti to quickly unfold into the stage of bhav. And ultimately fully blossom into prem. Okay, so maybe what I was reading about before, at the time, realization of the jiva's eternal identity and realization of the true intrinsic nature of the Lord is kindled by the medium of that splendor. Maybe that is referring to asakti. I don't know. Ruchi and asakti. And then finally, thus the appearance of the stage of bhajan causes the pure practice of bhakti to quickly unfold into the stage of bhav, and then to ultimately blossom into prem. In the stage of bhav, bhakti attracts Sri Krishna along with his dearmost companions. Just like we're reading before in Madhura Kadambini about the fragrance of that flower attracting the bumblebee like Madhusudan. But in the stage of prem, bhakti makes the sadhak an instrument of Krishna's pastimes, and thus induces him to relish the topmost ras. This topic will be explained more clearly ahead. Vishva Vaishnav Das summarizes this topic in the following 5 verses. Oh, and Vangshiwala Prabhu is wondering what's the other text I was referencing? I was referencing this book. Where is it? This book right here. Madhurya Kadambini. This is the edition published by my Srila Gurudev. Okay, so Vishwa Vaishnav Das, he summarizes this topic in the following 5 verses. Kleshagni Shubhada Bhaktir Yada Sadhanatmika Hridaye Badajivanam Tatasta Lakshananvita Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Laghutakrit Sudurlabha Sa Bhaktir Bhavarupena Yavat Tishtati Chetasi Prema Rupa Yada Bhaktis Tada Tattar Gunanvita Sandrananda Visheshatma Shri Krishna Karshani Chasa Muktanam eva sa shashvat Swarupananda Rupini Sambandha Swarupa Nityam Rajate Jiva Krishnayo Bhaktya ya labhya Muktir Maya Nikrintani Sakatang Bhagavad Bhakte samyang kangshati chetika. There are three stages of bhakti: sadhan, bhav, and prem. Bhakti in the stage of sadhan has two aspects: kleshagnatva, meaning it removes all types of material distress, and shubhadattva, meaning it offers the supreme auspiciousness. In the stage of bhav, four aspects of bhakti are visible: kleshagnatva, shubhadattva, moksha moksha karitva, meaning it reveals to the practitioner the insignificance of liberation, and sadurlavatva, meaning it is extremely rare. In the stage of prem, over and above these four attributes, two more aspects are visible: sandrananda visheshatma, meaning it grants extremely intense transcendental pleasure, and Shri Krishna Karshani, meaning it is the only means to attract Shri Krishna. In the conditioned stage of the living entity, the three intrinsic attributes of bhakti, that is, Sandrananda Swarupatva, Shri Krishna Karshanatva, Shri Krishna Karshatva, and Sudurlabhatva, they remain mixed with its three marginal characteristics. That is, Kleshagnatva, Shubhadatva, and Moksha Laghota Karitva. In the liberated stage, the bhakti of the living entity acts between the jiva and Krishna as eternal loving service in a particular relationship. In the liberated stage, the bhakti of the living entity acts between the jiva and Krishna as eternal loving service in a particular relationship and as the living entity's intrinsic transcendental pleasure. The liberation that dispels the covering of the illusory energy can be attained simply by the performance of a semblance of devotion. Since such liberation is just one of the ordinary maidservants among the many maidservants of Bhakti Devi, how can she aspire to be equated with Bhakti Devi? So that is the end of this chapter 3 of Bhakti-tattva-viveka. Tomorrow we will read chapter 4, an analysis of the qualification for bhakti. But there's still a little bit of time left, so I'm going to read my Srila Gurudev's commentary in this Madhuri Kadambini on this Sandrananda Visheshatma and Krishna Karshini, these last two stages. Okay. So, this is the Piyush Varshini Vritti. Prem Bhakti has two qualities. Its intrinsic nature is composed of condensed bliss, Sandrananda Visheshatma, and it attracts even Shri Krishna Karshini. In regard to the first quality, Sandrananda Visheshatma, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, verse 38 from the beginning, states, and we already read the Sanskrit for this, so I'm going to skip. Did we read the Sanskrit for this? Actually, I can't remember. I think so. Brahmananda Bhaveresha Chet Pararda Guni Krita Naiti Bhakti Sukham Bodhe Paramanu Tulam Api. It means the bliss of merging into the featureless aspect of the absolute truth, obtained after resolute meditation, samadhi, for over 50 years of Brahma's lifespan, does not compare even to a drop of the ocean of bliss of devotional service. Srila Jiva Goswami has commented on this verse as follows. Paradakal, we already read this. The words Paradakal refer to the bliss that arises from a samadhi that lasts for 50 years of Brahma, which is equal to 155,528 billion Earth years of Brahma's lifespan. That's a parartha. That's a long time. 155,520 billion years. Srila Jiva Goswami Pad provides evidence in this statement with a quote from Hari Bhakti Sudodoy, 1436. Tvachakshat karanahlada vishuddhabdi stitasya me Sukhani Goshpadayante Brahmanyapi Jagarguru. O Guru of the universe, directly beholding your divine form, I now dwell within an ocean of pure ecstasy. All other pleasures, including the bliss of merging with Brahma, appear as insignificant as the water in a calf's hoofprint. Regarding the ability to attract Sri Krishna, it is stated in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, verse 41, which we already read, Krutva harim pramel bhajam priya varga samanvitam bhaktir vashi karotiti Sri Krishna karshani mata. That means because bhakti attracts and controls the object of prem, Sri Krishna, along with his beloved associates, she is said to be Sri Krishna karshini. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7.10.48 can be cited as evidence. Yuyam nriloke pataburi bhaga lokam punana munayo bhiyanti ye shangrinan avasati tishakshad gudam param brahma manushalingam. The spiritual master of the demigod, Sri Narad Muni, said, O Yudhishthira, of all the people on this earth, your good fortune is exceedingly glorious, because the absolute truth, Parabrahma, the all-pervading Supersoul, has taken a human-like form and secretly lives in your palace. Great saintly persons who purify the entire creation again and again visit you to take his darshan. In his explanation of this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, quoting the response of Yudhishthira Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj says, "Oh, how fortunate is Prahlad! He has obtained darshan of Bhagavan. We, however, are most unfortunate." Sri Narad then said to Maharaj Yudhishthira, "You Pandavas are more fortunate than Prahlad, Prahlad's guru, me, Narad, and other devotees. You are even more fortunate than the residents of Yadupur, of Dwarka, the rishis headed by Vasishta, Marichi, Kashyapa, and also more fortunate than Brahma, Rudra, and others. Although they purify the three worlds with their darshan, still, to purify themselves completely, they come to your home. This is because the supreme absolute truth, Parabrahma, who remains fully concealed from even the Vedas, always resides in your home with great attachment in the form of a human being, even without your having invited him. But the absolute truth in human-like form does not personally reside in the houses of Prahlad. He doesn't personally reside in the house of Prahlad. And so the sages do not visit that place with the hope of receiving his darshan. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained that Sandrananda Visheshatma is the relishable ras of this fruit of prem, and Krishna Karshini is the supremely nourishing potency of that fruit. In Srimad Bhagavatam 126, Srila Sutta Goswami has described that the two innate qualities of pure transcendental bhakti are ahaituki. They are devoid of the pleasure for the fruit of one's actions, and they are apratihata. They are unimpeded by any type of obstacle. Although obstacles may still arise as a sadhak performs bhajan, he is not overwhelmed by them. Rather, their onset increases his humility, eagerness, and so on, resulting in progress on the path of bhakti. At the stage of prem, the devotee becomes so intoxicated by enjoying its fruit that no calamity or obstacle can affect him even slightly. Just as a valiant warrior furiously absorbed in battle forgets himself, or a thief covetous of great wealth becomes obsessed with stealing, fearing neither vice nor losing his own life. So the Premi Bhakta does not care for auspiciousness or inauspiciousness, as he is enchanted by the rapture of Prem Ras. Wow. I just want to read this one paragraph. This is the next thing in Madhurika Damini. It says, the devotee's longing to meet with Bhagavan is like an insatiable hunger that persists even after feasting day and night on endless qualities of the most delectable foodstuffs of the four varieties. This eagerness burns within him like the blazing sun. But then, at that very moment, a spurti, a momentary vision manifests, cooling him like millions of moons, and he delights in the endless beauty, quality, and sweetness of Bhagavan. At the stage of prem, the devotee burns in separation from Bhagavan and is simultaneously cooled by a spurti of him. Such is the astonishing nature of prem. All right, so it is 8 o'clock, and that is our reading for today. Tomorrow, we are going to read this chapter, chapter 4, an analysis of the qualification for bhakti. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura says, in the first chapter, we discussed the intrinsic nature of unalloyed devotion. In the second chapter, we discussed the intrinsic nature of bhakti abhas, or that which appears to be devotion, but in fact is not. And in the third chapter, we discussed the natural attributes of unalloyed devotion. In this chapter, we will discuss the qualification, the adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti. No one acquires anything without possessing the eligibility for it. This eligibility or qualification is the very foundation of success. When a devotee fully understands this, he will no longer remain doubtful concerning his eventual achievement of the ultimate goal. Many devotees think, for a long time now, I've been fully surrendered to my guru. I have accepted the Diksha mantra from him. I am also engaged in hearing and chanting. But still, I'm not experiencing the desired result. What is the reason for this? Gradually, they become uninterested in their bhajan, and in the end, they become totally faithless. Sound knowledge of the proper qualification for bhakti can easily protect one from such doubts. So, tomorrow it's so important, this next chapter. Now it's bringing it down to us. How can we attain the qualification to engage in bhakti? Why are we, even after following all these practices for so long, are we not, why don't we have any taste? Why isn't it working? Why isn't this process working? So tomorrow, all that's going to be answered by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. जय श्री सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि की जय, श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय, श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जय, जय श्री गुरुदेव की जय, जय श्री परम गुरुदेव की जय, जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री रूपानु गौरिय गुरु वर्ग की जय, स्वापाशा जी गौर नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय, श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपिकान की जय, श्री गिरिराज महाराज की जय, श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, समागत जय श्री भक्ति तत्व विवेक की जय, जय श्री भक्ति देवी की जय, जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय, जय श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय, जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवाशुच कृष्ण भक्ति प्रददेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। पंचा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Dandavat pranams, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarini Mataji, Sarveshwari Mataji, Chattamai Mataji, Archana Mataji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Ashray Tattva Prabhu, and let's see who else is there. Oh, Gokuleshwari Didi, Nitai Mukeshji, and looking on YouTube and Facebook, I see Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Rukmini Didi, Vidyalalasa Didi, Vangshiwala Prabhu, Shasharamaji, and I don't know who else is there. I'm guessing my brother, Krishna Murari, Indira Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji. There's a lot of other people there, but I only see the names of those who write comments. So pranams to all of you. And also pranams to all the devotees watching in the future. Haribol. So, is there anything that anybody wants to mention before we end today's program? Any points? All right. So, see you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe. Oh, and tomorrow is also Kalia Krishnadas's Kalia Krishnadas Thakur's disappearance day. He is an associate of Nityananda Prabhu. So I'll see if there's something about him in this book by the Sri Chaitanya and his associates. We can read about him. So, all right. Dandavat pranams. Thank you so much for joining. See you tomorrow. Haribol. Oh, one thing. I'm sorry. I just got an idea. Um, Well, one thing is I totally forgot about before we were memorizing the verses of Dakshmula Tattva, and I just forgot about that because Navadip Parikrama started and all that, and I just completely forgot to do that. So maybe this weekend we can learn the next verse, or maybe we should revise the verses that we've already memorized, just because it's been such a long gap. So yeah, I think we'll do that. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow. We can revise all the verses of Bhakti, yeah, the verses that we memorized and then I'm thinking after Bhakti-tattva-viveka, something that would just a little short, small, fun thing. I was thinking this morning that it'd be nice to memorize the 64 angas of bhakti. Like I think we're familiar with them, but it'd be nice to be able to recite them from memory, and then we're just really clear and it's grouped in different divisions, right? And so first we'll learn the first division, the first 10, and then the next 20 is it, or the next 10? I can't remember. And then like we can memorize it systematically. I just thought that'd be like a nice thing. I don't know. So you can all let me know if you're into that idea when we're finished with Bhakti Tattva Vivek. All right.